Okay. All right, recording is started. Hello, everybody, and this is our journey conversation for installment 14, which was chapters 101 to 111. And it's kind of exciting because this is the new stuff that began coming in June, right, Rick? Right. Over to you. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, quite different. That's Judy.
Hi, Jude.
And Lorraine. Hi.
Lorraine. How are you doing, Irene?
I seem to lost my.
It's been a week.
Huh.
One of those kind of weeks.
Yeah, I heard Mercury in retrograde. We really had trouble getting on a call yesterday. It was really funny. Okay, I'm gonna have to go out and come back, I guess.
Why?
Why?
I can hear you, but I don't see you.
Oh, in that case, you do have to go and come back. Yeah, we can see you and hear you just fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, put everything else down. Oh. So I'm at an open window because we finally have fresh air.
Good.
And so I want to be near a window, but I look kind of dark, but that's okay.
Hi, Bill.
Pretty.
No, well,
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Bill.
Hello. Nice to
Hello.
see you. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Great. Thank you.
Wonderful.
How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing pretty good. The weather's nice today, and after this call, I'm going to go take a walk. I like to do that. Work went okay today.
Good. That's good. That's always a good thing.
Kevin,
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I see
Nice
you.
to see you.
You're still in Ireland, huh?
Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow morning early.
Good.
It's
See?
been a real wonderful experience, really. I mean, there was huge resistance coming here, and it's just turned out to be a complete blessing, really.
Good.
Glad you could join us today then before you start your travels.
Yeah, I was very keen to get to you know, I always love sitting in with this group. You know, weekly. It's just a nice residence here.
Well, we love having you too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's quite a bit of magic happening, I think. It surprises me, really. You know, it's this blessing thing, you know, this blessing has taken me bit by surprise, you know, because, and I mean, I came here, there was, you know, it's a bit of ego resistance coming up there. And you know, if I remember, I told you that when I first came here that I felt I was resisting blessing, but people were blessing me here. Whatever was going on, there was something here when I first came. But as the week progressed, I found a really lovely prayer walk near one of the monasteries here. And I was going there regularly, and, you know, I visited a few places, and the town started speaking to me. It just was a really weird thing. And I could see, almost like sense into the you know, my mother's side, the Irish side, you know, and I could see the faces of different aunties, and, you know, the same face that you'd see when, you know, and I lost contact with a lot of these aunties and uncles, but there was something about going on about just, I was getting to know people, relatives that I hadn't really, even though they weren't physically there, there was a sense I was getting to feel them all. And one of the things that came up with was that this relationship with, I never really felt a strong relationship with Mary, the Marys, but suddenly something just started growing on me. That Mary, the mother, and Mary Magdalene, and I was also doing what this 40 days and 40 nights at Christina. I mean, I wasn't doing 40 days and 40 nights. I was doing about, doing it all in record time, but being conscious about being present. Because I thought they might take all that stuff off the internet, at some point. But it's been mind blowing, really, because I've really, I mean, and just just reading through, Into the Unknown, it's the ending today was I just went to visit the graves, and I went to the graves of my grandmother and my mother, but I didn't go there, and I went there almost like embracing all of them. It was an embrace of all of them that went on, and a man just turned up out of nowhere, and he just told me the whole history of Ireland, where they came from. They came from a very poor family, and there were 8 of them. And I really seen my grandmother and other people from, I never realized, or any kind of how they had come from that small little place in Ireland in their life. And it's almost like I seen it all. And it was a real blessing, just the whole thing. And I felt a lot of love and almost like forgiveness and things going on to do with the whole energetics of that Carroll family. So I was really excited in some respects, and yeah, I'm just glad. I think there's something to do with the resonance of this group that kicks things into play, I think, with me. So I think there's a lot of that, whatever's going on here, even if we're not speaking, even if I don't, it's something, I don't know, but it's definitely the Marys and Jesus. I can feel something different going on there with that resonance.
Thank you, Kevin.
Wow.
That was amazing. Yeah, later on, I'll share our message for the week, and you'll find out that you're right. There is something going on about this meeting.
Wow.
Who else would like to share?
Just to dovetail on what Kevin has to say, I think having committed to this journey, stepping up to the plate, it is so magical, Kevin. I was just resonating with what you were saying, because it's taking us on a magical journey. I think I commented last week about my white wand of light, and we are the light. We are the light. But it resonates with me when you talk about that, the mothers, the embracing of the mothers, the profound sort of experiences I'm having with Mary, the mother, and our sister in Christ as well, and Mary Magdalene, and the whole female component, or the divine feminine, is a big part of this, I think. Our last chapters were sort of, ultimately, there's only love. No conflict. How do we love ourselves? And then how do we go even deeper in how we live that, and live in love's presence, and be love for others. And so what I'm seeing is just taking me deeper and deeper into a lighted space on the other side, where even it's not about agreement or disagreement anymore, or conflict. There's a beautiful, beautiful oneness. We are all the same. But it is magical. I find that the joke's on us. We're being taken on this beautiful journey. We've committed to it, but it's not about, well, it is, we are stepping up to do our part, or be who we are, and ultimately be in loving presence, be loving presence. But it's so uplifting, and it's so magical, and it's so beautiful, and we're getting out of the way, and it's taking us on this journey, I think. Can't wait to hear what you have to say, Rick. And I had lots of fun with Christine this morning. few little banters back and forth. I might have been the spider, Christine.
Oh, right, it could have been. So
I thought that could have been me. I always like to be the fly on the wall. I thought.
I just wanted to say that space that you're describing, as you were describing it, the words that came into my mind, that's the field that Rumi talks about. I will meet you there.
There.
Beyond the right and the wrong, there is a field. I will meet you.
And that's what I'm trying to describe. It's magical.
It is. That's the embrace. And I just also want to quickly say that this meeting, group, gathering, whatever you want to call it, for me, it is completely open with, if there's any boundary, it is permeable boundaries. And whatever is happening here is happening for every particle of humanity and life, not just on the planet, but in the universe, multiverse. That's how it feels to me. And that's, about that more.
It is. I'm feeling it just among ourselves, you know, and receiving it. But it is absolutely. It's just that it's for everyone, every aspect of being, every aspect of God, every one of us. So we are beaming it out. But I mean, and they're beaming it back. You know, there's our brothers and sisters, those souls that, well, all of them are resonating somewhere, right? There's no one left out.
It what was wonderful, you know, sometimes I don't even have to read the chapters, and just the questions, you know, sometimes can take me to a place. And what was this one? You know, what do you see, smell, hear, feel when you breathe and sit a while? And I think what a you know, I played with that, and I just thought, well, just sitting there, just now and again capturing that aliveness was just you know, nothing more you want really, just to sit there. You can feel, and I mean, just it's really quite simple, really. If that other part, that other brain doesn't try to get involved. I mean, it's and will you take yourself out of the conflict? So yeah, I've been doing stuff I've been becoming more aware of how my mind can get pulled in by the internet, and I'm not cutting myself off, but just making choices to pull myself, as I think Tina was saying, out of the matrix more and more. And that's, you know, obviously mind work really. But yeah, it's and I love it that these chapters where they just the question at the top. It's just, I like it the way it's done. It just gives me, it always gives me some space. I love it. Yeah.
I feel like all of us in this group are discovering something. We're discovering a little more about what unity means, not only with each other, but also with the non-physical beings that we're also in communion with. I feel like right now would be a good time to share this message, because interestingly enough, it has exactly to do with how this conversation is going right now. So let me do that, and then we'll get back to the regular discussion. And where did it go? It disappeared. I'll find it.
You mentioned Mercury in retrograde. Be calm.
There it is. Okay. So this message came to us on Sunday, the 11th of October at 1:38 p.m. Dear brethren, I hope you have not grown tired of me yet. I enjoyed giving a message to you so much last week that I wanted to make it a regular communion. There's so much that I long to say. Excuse me, there was a typo there. I attend your weekly meetings, as does Jesus and other spiritual beings.
Oh, you got it.
You
So,
cannot see us in Zoom boxes, but we are there. We listen to your heartfelt words and relish hearing them. It really wasn't that long ago that we were on the earth, pondering life and ourselves, wondering who we were in truth. We discovered what you each know. It's amazing to see how much Christ consciousness has grown. Lorraine has talked about her strong connection to me. I wish to tell her that I feel the same way about her. I feel the same way about each of you, carrying out the work Jesus and I started. It is such a beautiful and amazing sight. You are each practicing forgiveness and gratitude, blessing everyone we send to you. This is what it means to be Christ, a child of God. You each walk the talk. Zonia, Christina, Jude, Lorraine, and Irene, you are my sisters, and I love you so. You each have shown me a thing or two. We give and receive as one. I focused on the women today, but I have much more to say, specifically to the men in this group next week. Until next week, with the love of Christ, Mother Mary, your sister in Christ. And this ended at 2:00. And I just think it's so interesting how this connects to everything that we've been saying today about unity and kind of getting a different perspective about how they feel the same way about us that we feel about them. So I will, of course, send this out later on today in the email. And I'll stop sharing now.
well, I'm really glad that
So beautiful.
I always say, legions of angels, masters and friends. That's from the Way of Mastery, I believe. Those who are sent directly of God to assist us over this ditch. It says, come now, because I declare it and I receive it. I just say thank you, because I know they're here. And I am so grateful for that. This last week, I did not feel well. I had back pain, and I get very crabby and of course, no one likes to be in pain. But anyhow, so I had, to sit down and relax and think about things. And one of the things that came up in another spiritual group was, and they used the word evil and despair in their talk, which was a little, it was interesting, their comments on it. But the thing of it is the main thing I came around with, what would I do if I didn't have a spiritual background to fall back on, to this really knowing that this is not all there is, that we have so much support from legions of angels, masters and friends, Jesus, Mary, each other. And that really was my, the bottom line of this last week, let's say. I don't know, it came out of it is this great sense of gratitude for all of you and for all teachers, masters, and friends, and just the fact that we are not alone. And so I was just really happy when they said that they join us on these calls. So.
Yeah. And I think that's what we are being called to share, is to somehow in our own unique way, by being who we are and saying things and doing things, to show people that there are all these beings, that we're not alone. So just to give you a quick example, this morning, my neighbor has been having a really hard time, over this COVID time, lockdown time. And, husband's is unwell, and there's a lot of stuff going on with the family. And it just came to me that, because I know that she goes to the Catholic Church and is pretty devout. And I just dropped off a box of oracle cards from Mother Mary that I had landed in my lap from another friend, and that was one way of doing something concrete that she might feel able to connect with. If I sent her a journey into the unknown, she probably wouldn't look at it, But so that kind of thing. And I know we're all doing those kinds of things. So yeah, it's wonderful that you have that knowing, Judy, so strongly.
I can tell you a story. It was really quite interesting. Happened many years ago. As a matter of fact, this morning in my morning pages, I wrote about it again. And I took it very seriously then, but I guess I could have taken it a lot more seriously. I came in one evening from work, or anyhow, it was a Friday evening. And I came into my living room and I sensed that there was a presence in my living room, but it was benevolent. It didn't scare me. I felt very comfortable. And I sat down and I had a rocking chair, basically almost where I'm sitting right now. And across from me was this chair and a table with a tape deck on it and my little, spiritual CDs or whatever I had there. And I just kind of looked around, and it was just kind of like, but it was so comfortable. It was not scary whatsoever. And so what it was just get out a piece of paper and pencil and do a drawing, which I did. And it ended up to be of the chair of where I thought I was hearing this conversation. And while I'm doing this drawing, there was communication going on. Exactly, I couldn't even tell you what was said. It was just, but very pleasant. And the first drawing, the legs of the chair were too far down on the page. So I started again, and the same thing happened. And I went, it's supposed to be that way, okay. So then the next day when I woke up, I saw the drawing there and I went, well, that's not bad, just pencil on paper. And, but at the time I was going to be going away. So I took it and reduced it down. I was doing a lot of coloring in those days. And I was coloring them all in, and I was sending them out to my family and stuff. And as I was coloring them, I was outside. It was a nice day. I went, no, wait a minute. I'm supposed to see a face. And just then, and I'll post a picture of I call it God's chair now. I'll post a picture of it. And just then I saw in the tape deck, in the little circle in one of the speakers, was a happy face, was this, like the sun face. And it just cracked me up. I just laughed so hard. And it doesn't really show up on the larger one, but when it's reduced down, it does. And so, spirit for me has always had a great sense of humor. But knowing that and feeling that, I've never felt alone. I live alone, but I don't feel alone. I remember one time someone said, well, how can you stand living alone? I looked at them, I said, who says I'm alone? And they went, ooh. And I just thought it was so funny because they were spooked by that. But anyhow, so I will post a picture of God's chair. And actually, I'm very pleased and proud that several of my sisters framed that little picture and have it in their house because they could feel something with it. So that's another reason why I do not, I don't doubt, let's put it that way, certainly do not doubt that we have all the support that we could ever need, and so that's always given me comfort.
Thank you, Judy.
My story.
How are you doing, Bill?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Jude, for sharing your joy. We get it. I got it. And I really, it's a very interesting space for me these days. Probably the highlight of this last week is we added a family member. We went out and found a rescue dog and brought Bela home now with us. And so in the last 3 or 4 days, it's been a transition of watching Bela become more accepted or accepting us more and accepting the settings and what have you. So I've been pretty well wrapped up with doing that for the most part, while touching in with the different Course in Miracles and Course of Love groups that I'm a part of. But if I step back and I look and I recognize this peace, this grace that is with me now, that just a feeling of acceptance, of accepting what is and knowing there's nothing to fear about. There's nothing to worry about the future, about any time, except what are the opportunities that we have to, in effect, share, to bring out what we are receiving. And I'm simply celebrating that and watching what's happening in the different groups that I'm involved in. And I've got a mission that came up for me a while ago, and I'll share about briefly. And this pertained to the George Floyd situation, when he lost his life, or lost his life as seen. About a week and a half after that, I was watching the news and watching the protests going along, and I watched those protests turn peaceful. And when I saw that, there were tears in my eyes. I shared this with my wife. I said, I've been waiting for peaceful demonstrations being able to unfold for the last 50 years. And as I reflect on that, I recall twice in reading in The Journey of the Unknown, it says, the energy of the 60s is here with us now. And that just brings me goosebumps because of the experience of what I felt during that time, that shift that I know has been so key to my progressing, my willing to go forward as I have since that time. And a couple of days later, I found myself reflecting on this and says, what is there that I can do to serve this and to contribute to this? And without looking for it, one of my former ministers at another Unity church announced that she is putting up on this program on dealing with racism. And I felt like this is what I've been called to get involved with more and more. And in particular, to bring this whole discussion to the spiritual communities, to us. What is our role? What is it that we're receiving that in turn we can share, that we can bring forward to bring about a healing, a major healing that, to my sense, I get Jesus is speaking of in The Journey of the Unknown, about the changes that are on their way. I'm thrilled about that, and I'm trying to get organized to get something more going along these lines. I've expressed it to some other people within the Course of Love community. They're interested in it, and some others in the Interfaith Council here in my area. And that's big for me to do, to look into, to see what's possible. What can I bring forward from this, or how can I serve the community? While reading all the other wondrous books that we're used to reading, A Course of Love, everything else along those lines, I read another book called White Fragility. And the subtitle is Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. And it's moved me. And I'm very enthusiastic about that, and seeing what we are bringing, what we are receiving, what we can do that in turn many are waiting for. I recognize that within, for instance, within the Course of Love, Course of Miracles communities that I'm involved with, there are very few people of color. very few Black people in particular involved. And I asked that question, what's possible? What can be done in this regard? So these are the types of things that I've been involved in and been sitting with and looking at what I get to do during this time of unfolding. Just to back up a little bit further, I moved out to Hemet, California to.
Bill,
Yes.
may I, before you continue?
Yes,
It's a very practical thing. If you are interested, I've been doing this kind of work in my community for many months now.
Excellent.
And I have a bunch of resources and stuff, including an article about the white fragility thing. So if you're interested, just send me an email and I can share with you the results of the research I've done that I've shared with my mostly white community also. And, we can, if you're interested, okay? So that's very practical.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. And I'll share with you what I've got as well along these lines. Just real briefly, I became an ordained Unity minister in 2009, answering a calling at that point. I've written a book. Where is it? Unity and A Course in Miracles, Understanding the Common Path of Spirituality. And it begins with the discussion of non-duality and then just takes on the Course in Miracles, comparing that to the teachings from Unity. Anyway, I've been in a number of different churches as a senior minister, and I spent 3 years as a senior minister here in Hemet, California. And at the time of the COVID-19 lockdown, commensurate with that, the church had decided not to renew my contract, and I felt that I'm complete with church ministry. I'll be involved in churches here and there and teaching classes on this material and that sort of thing. But all of this is unfolding and discovering your material as well as everything else that's coming on. It's just leaving me thrilled, leaving me grateful to be involved and to continue to watch on a day-to-day basis how simple life has become. And also what sort of opportunities there are to be able to continue to share, to continue to just deepen people's awareness of this journey that Rick, now you and your peer has created, has continued to extend. So I'm new here. I'm glad to be here, and I love hearing what each of you are sharing, and I feel connected to what you're offering here. That's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Welcome
Bill.
home.
That's amazing.
Beautiful. It's such a lovely moment to be in, a lovely state of being, a lovely place to be in. I love the simplicity, that not that it's always easy, but that we can just share our stories and share the little things, like as Rick read Mary's message for us this week. The image and what I was feeling is we're mirroring this cadre of souls that is leading us in this journey. And wherever it's going to lead you, Bill, is going to be absolutely amazing, wherever it leaves all of us, because as Christina said, this is for all of us, for everyone. We're experiencing it together. I feel that's a wonderful privilege to be called to now, but it's so simple. I don't have to memorize. I don't have to do, I always call it my mental gymnastics with ACIM. I no longer feel I have to keep reading the 40 days over and over and memorize what they are, because it's just to be in every moment, whatever shows up or wherever you're called to be. And we can share our simple, beautiful stories of what's happening. And that's how That's how simple the journey is. Well, Christine, it tells us we're going to be rejected, tells us to hold on to our hats, it's giving us caveats, but how can we lose? And what else is there? There's no alternative. There's nothing else. So welcome home. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's just some of the, sometimes I can hear something or read something and it doesn't land, but like the other day is, I think the way the words were put together, can you love everything about yourself? I had a little bit of a play with that, in the morning, just sitting there, and it's quite sweet, really, when I, because I never really asked that question in that way, and just the way they're together, they tend to, yeah, there's always this accept yourself and all this, but actually I just like the freshness of the approach of that, and it's there's a gentleness to it as well, to these questions that's very appealing.
Well, I took a little note here from lesson 108. Basically, because in that spiritual group that I was in on Sunday, they used the word evil. It's not a word I usually use. So that set me off. And so then in 108, it says, if only the evil other would change and be less evil, then maybe, just maybe, you might embrace him. I tell you now with complete certainty that you must love your brother without doing anything to deserve it. He cannot change until you love him first. Okay. All right. I mean, okay. I just wanted to repeat that. Then take it in.
Yeah, that's a beautiful chapter because I've just been on a 5-day trip actually over to Vancouver Island. I spent Thanksgiving with my daughter. We were on Salt Spring as well. So we got home late last evening, and so I'm just, it bedazzles me a little bit, or no, confuses me a little bit, how I compartmentalize still things. So being over there and being out of what I felt is a routine I'm letting go of, right? Just trying to get myself back settled into my home. And I've just been everywhere and all over today. I was trying to catch up because I read these through very quickly, and I had to actually print them off this morning. And I printed them off from the, where they're all in a row there, Christina, or, you can get them. It's almost like a PDF format there. So I printed them off, and I don't.
As well.
Yeah, that there's a few choices for us to actually print them off. But so I did that, and they don't have the titles. So I've been reading them just before coming on for a second read, because this morning I sat with Mary's message from last week. But so I've been giving them my own little chapters, and I'll go back and see what Christine actually did use for the questions to live by, I think you call them, right? And see, so this one I put, ultimately, there's only love, true vision, and the oneness of everything. That is kind of what I got out of that. The true vision is restored. But I love I love that we are seeing, when we can see with true vision, there's no evil. There's no evil. There's just sameness. And that I don't have to label things as conflict anymore. I can just see it's another soul doing the best they can. So that I love every chapter. I love every word, but this one I did make notes. And another one, what was it? Oh, no, just chapter 101. And I thought of you, Judy, because in the first and second senses of that chapter, you had once were sharing, I think you're working with the elections, and you were getting some conflict or some feedback that was maybe counter to what you were trying to say, but anyway, and you had said, we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
We all want the same thing. So conflict has melted away for me, or fallen away into, it doesn't matter how it looks or what it looks like. It's a call for love. We all want the same thing. So we're either extending the love or seeing it as a call for love. We're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Want the
I know
same
in
thing.
109 it says, this is another little thing I highlighted. It says, until more and more souls awaken from their deep slumber and take over the driver's seat of mind, body, vehicle, putting the ego in the back seat with the old 8-track tapes. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
This is the only answer. Take yourself out of the conflict. See other characters and their mind, body, vehicles as different versions of yourself. Be helpful and do no harm. That's what the Course in Miracles says, to be helpful and harmless. Support life in all of its miraculous forms. It's that easy and it's that hard. We didn't say that life would always be a picnic. Well, just seeing yourself, different versions of yourself. I have several brothers, 4 brothers. But anyway, my one brother, Doug, who lives not far from me now, is a Trump supporter. And he is embraced, he really likes being a California gold miner kind of guy. And he started a club and all this other stuff. And he's got a heart of gold. And he has been my biggest lesson and mirror to how to love your brother, my brother, I don't want to say in spite of, but kind of, in spite of what he believes or does. And he has been my greatest teacher. He really has been. And, but actually to the point of, he just got his hair cut and his beard trimmed because of, the first time he could do that. And the one picture he sent, he really does look like an old coal miner. It just as I went, oh my gosh, he's really playing the part. And then there was another one I looked at and I went, my God, I look just like him. I mean, I really resemble him a lot. And so it just is, he's been my biggest teacher. Really has, when you can really see in yourself and another, and it doesn't have to be your real brother, but for me, it's really been helpful to know that he is a sweetheart and I love him, and he's not a bad guy. He just is unripe, immature soul. I've been really ripe and unripe a lot. I really like the ripe and unripe. I think that is just an immature souls. I just think that's just a wonderful way of looking at it, because that takes the evil out of it. That takes all of that out of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's such the important thing, is to take the judgment out of it. Observation is good, to look at it with clear eyes. Also, I wanted to add, Judy, I mean, there are some people that I'm still working on loving. And what I noticed, though, is that I'm beating myself up for not liking something they say or do. I don't have to like it. I just need to accept it. But first, before I can accept the behavior, I need to accept how I feel about that behavior.
Mm.
And that's where A Course of Love was hugely important for me, to show me that every feeling I have is super important, has so much information in it. And the important thing is not that I'm having the feeling, but how I respond out there. So the going inside and sitting with the feeling of disgust or dismay or disappointment or whatever it is. And literally, it's magical because sitting with it long enough, it's like an alchemical process for me. Suddenly, it's dissipated. And really what I'm doing is reclaiming that energy. The energy has been transmuted. It's a transmogrification, which is my favorite word. And the first time it happened was many years ago, but it was like, oh my God, I was in such a dark place. And then I was sitting and sitting and sitting with it, and suddenly it was just gone. But if I had gone and started complaining to another person or talking about it, I'm adding to that negativity. So I just wanted to say that because sometimes we expect ourselves to be superhuman beings. No, we're human and we have feelings. And that's where the work begins. So I'm reverse engineering from obviously we end up in a place where soul is driving and you don't even have to do any of that, right? Well, thank you, Judy. Really.
Well, I like the thing from, I believe it was The Way of Mastery too, is that there's a difference between accepting, allowing, and all of that, and condoning. You don't have to condone someone else's bad behavior. And so that's usually what I end up saying is I just don't condone it.
Yeah.
And people look at me like it's such a big word, and in a way it is. But I mean, you just don't condone it. You just,
Yeah.
they
You
can
just don't like it. And people are different. They like different things. I mean, the famous line, well, for me, famous because I keep using it, it's from A Course of Love is, do you judge peas because you don't like them?
Yes.
I wish they would have used broccoli, because when it sounds like peas.
It must be, I'll bet Mari doesn't like peas because obviously you're picking her brain, right? Her memory banks, just like Journey has been picking Rick's memory banks. Sometimes I honestly think it's been picking my memory banks too. There's so much in there of stuff that I do. It's crazy. I mean, it's getting to the one mind, right, Rick? I mean, when I have that thought, I think, oh, can't be. But then I think, well, why not?
Christina, I really love that picture that you put for 111 of the cupcake. It was so delicious looking.
I go, all this food.
Yeah, that, and there's a hand going for one too, and that's my older granddaughter's hand.
Guys, I noticed the hand on that. It was just that one of the fingers was sticking out.
You know, that's how she does it. It's very delicate, right?
Grabbed it. I don't know how I noticed that. Right.
So now we're a little bit into humor. May I say one more thing, Rick, about installment that I absolutely love? And it's sort of, I mean, the words are familiar. So it's in chapter 108 that talks about, no, actually, it's not that one. I'm getting a little confused here. Let me see if I can find it here quickly. Oh, chapter 107. If someone harms you, turn the other cheek and walk away. True spiritual correction can't come if your judgment has attached itself to the situation. So that was really a very, very good reminder for me that my judging actually prevents the healing from happening, both for the person and for me. But for some reason, this thing about turning the other cheek, which of course is in the Bible and everything, and the walk away part meant, oh my God, they're talking about the other cheeks.
Butt cheek, yes.
I have such a giggle about that. That's so much easier for me to remember than the way, I was taught going to church as a child that it's the other cheek. Why the hell would I do that? This one makes so much sense. Walk away. Take yourself out of the conflict.
And so it's so true. I mean, we can turn off the TV. You can, don't have to read that newspaper.
Yeah.
I'm invited to go up on a roof tonight. It's beautiful in San Francisco. And I have this little pot of friends who are all retired and been very careful. And I said, well, I'll see. because the invite was come up to the roof and gossip. And I went, I know what they meant, you know, but they also, they meant that probably too. So anyhow, I said, well, maybe, probably, we'll see.
Maybe go to the basement. Maybe we should go to the basement and gossip.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's so funny because we've been, you know, told many times that gossiping does no good. I mean, it really doesn't really do anything other than drag you down.
And what this installment has told me anyway, that when I do that, if I put my energy to the negative stuff, it's actually holding it in place even more firmly. I kind of knew that, but the way this says it is so clear, you know.
I want to jump in here real briefly about a comment about turning the other cheek. I realized this a while ago that what that turning the cheek, when you turn your cheek, you're in effect looking in a different direction.
Yeah.
Away from the pain or the fear, or whatever that was, to remembering home, remembering awakening. I also would share that from earlier on in the journey to the unknown, the beautiful line that I came across where what I read was, the ego is a part of all that we're in, and it just means that you're still in a time of learning. And that so resonates with what I've gotten from a course of love, in particular, seeing a circle there of the individual ego self, if you will. It's in the house of illusion, if you will, that's covered or included within the house of truth. It's but there, waiting for us to learn, waiting for us to, things are being presented to us for us to learn more and about our journey and what we can give and receive. Thanks, I'm complete.
Rick, I have a question on chapter 101, and it's sentence 4. And it says, your society, right, it talks about, you know, take yourself out of conflict, which we've just been discussing for the last 10 or 15 minutes, because there is no conflict. Your brother is an aspect of God. Help him and do no harm. Don't add to his pain, and teach him how to release the pain he carries. So we are really being called to be that red cross that was used as an analogy in one of the former installments. But then it says, your society needs large-scale forgiveness workshops. Let the past go and experience the freedom that this present moment offers. So large-scale forgiveness workshops, that is come through, of course, the Course in Miracles. Forgiveness is the main theme, but also it is intended, I would imagine here, that's what I want clarification on, that we ourselves are, all of us, are the living, walking, talking forgiveness workshops. But I'm also wondering if it is also, could it be a call for us to create forgiveness workshops, or is it just through example and being forgiveness? And could it be taken literally?
Oh, absolutely. The world doesn't teach much about forgiveness. They teach that maybe you deserve to be forgiven, or maybe you don't deserve it, depending on what it is that you did or didn't do. So the idea that all of us are carrying around all of these shadow figures from our own individual past, and then collectively, I mean, there's just so much energy that needs to be, you know, released in that way. And so not know how to do it as people. I don't think, maybe a few people are good at forgiving and forgetting, but I think largely we're not. I mean, look at what's happening with the statues. People are destroying these statues, which represented characters from hundreds of years ago, who are being judged now for what they may or may not have done. And even people, like Jeffrey Epstein, who killed himself, right? But people are so angry that he's not still here so they can have their trial and blame him and judge him. So I think really we're terrible at forgiving. We don't really know what it is. And we are all wrapped up with this idea about how you have to deserve to be forgiven. And that's not true. And people think that it's that, you over there, you're doing something, but really I feel bad about what I've done. So people don't get the connection between them and other people and each other. So yes, if you feel inspired to do that, or anybody, that would be truly awesome, because we're terrible at it as people, and it causes us so many problems.
Right. It occurred to me, you just spoke about the shadow figures and the collective negative energy, or the collective. And most of us don't even look at the body as an energy, as an energy system, right? They don't even see that. We don't see that. So, being the one mind, the one body, the one soul, we're so connected in the oneness of source, which is an energy that I can't explain, right? But so there's that component. And then the Course of Love, doesn't it tell us right from the gate that the biggest crisis in the world is an identity crisis? We don't know who we are, right? We don't know who we are. And I think in our last installment here, in one of the chapters, it does talk about punishing. Get out. Nobody deserves to be punished. Which chapter was that? I believe it's one of this. I just read it this morning somewhere. That we need to get out of this punishing. I'm just looking quickly to see if I can see if it was this or maybe the last. Oh.
Well,
100.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go. I was going to help you, but it seems like you found it.
No, I didn't.
102 is about
108.
punishing, I think. I'm not sure which one you want.
108 talks about deserving. Without, you must love your brother without him doing anything to deserve it. That's just my quick note on it.
So 101 and 102 both talk about punishment. 101.7 is that deserve justice, replace it with call for love.
Oh, that's,
Asking for
yes.
punishment. Is that the one you're looking for? There's several.
Yes, it does not deserve the
He's not
justice.
asking for punishment with his behavior. He's calling for love.
Yes, that's
She
it.
does not deserve
That's it,
justice.
Christina. It was right here under my nose.
Yeah. But I want to make a plug for the search tool. Have you noticed that there is a search facility?
I have, and you did tell us about it.
All you got to do is type in the word and it'll return the chapters.
Yes, right. So I can do that. I probably wouldn't be able to do it while I'm on with you. I have my little phone here, but I wouldn't be able to multitask. But this morning I was showing my husband where to go. I wanted him to go down and print these off for me. I'm still in my jammies and the day is getting on. So I looked a little bit more with a little bit more attention at all the different subtitles you do have there. So I will explore. Mm-hmm. And you'd mentioned this morning when I had emailed you or I texted you or commented about going. I have not read your latest, I think the blog part. So I will do that as well.
Well, the post I wanted to say actually is exactly what we're talking about today. I wrote about conflict. It's called tiny choices. And it's a very, very important
excellent.
time because we're heading towards a really, really important time. The 31st of October is like, you know, the veils are thin, and they're thinning and thinning and thinning, and they are going to be super thin. And there's all kinds of things that we can do. And it's all everything we've talked about, nothing more here.
Great.
But I just want to say, I don't know if we'll ever do this, but at some point, I really want to talk a little more about living in abusive situations, because you can forgive and forgive and forgive. And I'm speaking from experience of a family member. And at some point, you have to walk away, because you have finished, I have finished my forgiveness work. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to get beaten up still. So walking away was the only solution. And that was very hard for me to do. But not completely, you know, just available, but at a safe distance. So, and when you talked about forgiveness workshops, and Rick said, go for it, Lorraine. You know what the thought came to me was? The people who really need those workshops aren't going to come to it.
Are going to, or
Not
are
going to
not,
come to it.
are not going to come to it. Yes.
Not going to. That was my skeptical. You know, but I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that we have to take off the rose-tinted glasses, because we talked about everything earlier, and I just wanted to say it also, Jenny also says, don't put your head in the sand. You know, keep working on loving and loving and loving, but don't put your head in the sand. So again, of course, do the workshops, but hey, I have a sense of humor, and these kinds of things pop into my head, you know. Like,
I'll go to Mary. I'll see what she says.
yeah, see what she says.
See where she leads.
Mary on you. I have to go. Love you dearly. Thank you so
What time is it?
much, everybody.
I don't know what time it is.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Judy.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, everyone, I guess we're at that time. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see everybody next week. Have a great week.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill and
Judy.
Kevin, Lorraine, Christina. Thank you, everybody.
Likewise. Love being
Bye.
here.
Irene.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
And John, yeah, love you all.
Thank
Bye.
you, Rick.
Bless you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Christina.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.